Good stuff. Well, thank you,
Got
Heather,
it.
for letting me get this set up for you and your clients and see how I might be able to provide some value and not only make your life easier, but make their lives easier too. My goal is to keep this super casual. So if y'all have any questions throughout the presentation, you can drop them in the chat. I'm also going to give y'all my cell phone numbers at the end. So if you have questions, you don't want to ask them now, I get it. It's okay. But let's go ahead and get started. So today I really wanted to talk to you all about how to master your money without stress, anxiety, or fear. As business owners or variable income earners, it's really difficult for us to make the most of our finances because we don't know what we can consistently count on in terms of income each month. One month we might have a huge lump sum, think that it's our new norm in terms of revenue, find that money quickly running out. We leverage our credit cards to make ends meet. We're not feeling happy about where we're at in our business. We're feeling stressed. We're feeling anxious. We're fearful. We don't want to look at our bank statements. And what that ends up happening is it gets in our head. We're not able to just move forward in our business or focus on why we started our business in the first place. And also, it holds us back from being able to plan for our financial future and actually get financially organized. So I'm going to talk to you all today about how to get organized and what that looks like and why it's important. Before we get started, I'll tell you all a little bit about myself and the company that I created. We'll talk about what mastering your money can look like, how you can achieve that through practical budgeting. We're going to break that bad boy down into 3 easy steps, and then I'm going to give you all some next steps for today. So first up, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Mills Bender. Yes, Mills. No, that's not my given name, but it's what everybody calls me. I'm the founder and owner of Mills Knows Bills, where we're a team of financial coaches. We work with variable income earners to get financially organized and go from confused to confident in their finances within 90 days. So I am so much into finance. I am that nerd who uses Excel spreadsheets for everything, that I actually decided to make a business out of it. And it's awesome because I get to empower others, see them get their financial successes, and then they get to go on their merry way. Personally, a little bit about me. If you hear me breathing heavy or taking a moment to deep breathe, it's because I'm growing a human. I'm an incubator right now. I'm about 7 months pregnant with my first child. No, we don't know what the baby will be. We're actually waiting for birth, but sometimes baby likes to move and push on my lungs. I also am a fur mama. I have a almost 2-year-old golden doodle named Bear, who we lovingly call Bear Sif when he's in trouble, but he's funny. I've been married for about 5 years. I have lots of nieces and nephews, or kids with return policies, as I like to call them. And so now I get to have my very own first without a return policy. I love showing how I cook and recipes and whatnot on Instagram. So if you want to connect, I'm happy to do that as well. It's not just money over here. So quick question. I actually wanted to open it up to you all that are attending live. Feel free to write your answer in the chat or simply unmute yourself. The question is, what does it mean to you to master your money? What does it look like?
I don't know if Daya can hear us or not, or if she's here.
Daya,
So sorry.
Hi. Hi.
Hey, I check on the plumber. I have a plumber at the condo, and I forgot to check on him.
No worries.
All good.
I know, right? Master your money. Oh, that's a funny one. Okay, yeah. Not sure about that.
Well, what does it look like to you, whether it's tangible or intangible?
Master your money. I think the flip side is true. The money can certainly master one's person and one's stress level.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay. So maybe for you, it's getting to the opposite of that, being able to master your money rather than it master you.
Yes.
Okay. I like it. I like it.
For me personally, I think of mastering my money as knowing where everything is going and knowing a solid plan So I run my personal like I run everybody's business that I take care of. So I have a QuickBooks for my personal that I allocate
Yes.
everything into categories, and I do all my ratios. So I'm like that nerd.
I
So
love
that's
it.
kind of
Nerd
knowing
power over
where
here.
knowing where everything is and what I'm gonna do moving forward, like a
Yeah.
plan for debt. That's kind of what I think of when I think of debt.
Okay. I like it. Often when I ask this question, I get a whole array of responses. I get things like being able to buy a home for the first time, being able to send my kid to college, being able to be debt free, being able to look at my bank statements without crying. I mean, it's the responses range through so many different things. But really, regardless of what your response is, it will fall within one of these three categories. The first one is being able to make the most of your income, or stated otherwise, stop living paycheck to paycheck, right? How many of us feel like we're making this money, but it's never enough? No matter how much we make, it's never enough, right? So being able to make the most of your income / being able to stop living paycheck to paycheck. The second bucket is being able to pay off your debt up to 2 times faster. A lot of us, especially those that make a variable income, struggle with debt because we don't know how to manage our fluctuating income, and we find ourselves leveraging and using credit cards at the end of the month when we find ourselves low on cash. And lastly, being able to reach financial goals, whether it's putting your kid through school, retiring, buying a home, no matter what, right? That's kind of the catch-all for mastering your money. And out of these three categories, the one that I often get the most pushback on is making the most of your income, or no longer living paycheck to paycheck. Because a lot of people think that that response is a not making enough money problem, when most of the time it's a not using your money wisely problem. And I'll give you an example. When I first started my business, I sat down with a gentleman who easily brings in $500,000 a year. And this isn't business income. This isn't business revenue. This is income. $500,000. Okay. And we're sitting down and we're talking, and like many others, I was thinking to myself, like, why is this guy talking to me? He doesn't need me. He's making $500,000 in income over here, profit. Turned out he was consistently overdrafting on his bank account by $20,000 each month. He's living off of $750,000 when he's only making $500,000, right? So regardless of where you stand in your financial journey, regardless of how much money you make or don't make, regardless of how much debt you do or don't have, or where you stand with your financial goals, this is something that a lot of us still struggle with, right? So if you're finding yourself in a situation where you're struggling financially, and you're talking to yourself saying, but you shouldn't be. We weren't taught this in school, or at least most of us weren't, but that's what I'm here to talk with you about today, is give you those next steps on how you can actually master your money. Honestly, it all boils down to practical budgeting. And notice how I didn't just say budgeting, because a lot of people will hear that word and cringe. I know I did when I first heard it. I thought rice and beans for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day, barely doing anything for fun. No, thank you. No, thank you. So I like to use the analogy of practical budgeting similar to a belt, okay? When you first put on a new belt, you got to find that perfect loop, right? Maybe sometimes you put it on and it's a little too tight. It's too snug. If you were to leave it there for too long, right? And it's going to take a long time, right? But if you were to leave it there for too long, at one point that belt buckle might pop and your pants fall down and it's not doing its job, right? And it's painful. On the other hand, if you put that belt buckle on and it's a little too loose, you got too much wiggle room in there. Your pants are still going to fall down. It's still not doing its job, You need to find the perfect belt loop that fits your body just snug enough to where your pants stay up, but you can still breathe. So what do I mean by that? You need to have the perfect budget that mirrors your personality, your goals, your business. So it's just snug enough for you to have some freedom in your present day, but not so much freedom that you're forgoing your financial future. Okay. And the other part about budgeting that a lot of people get so fixated on is, well, I found my perfect belt loop. It has to be the perfect belt loop forever. But as you all know, our income changes, our expenses change, things in life come up, just as our bodies change, right? Like right now, there's no way I'm fitting my pants I fit 7 months ago, right? I got to have I don't even wear a belt at this point. I got those stretchy pants right now. It's okay for your budget to change too, as long as it is adjusting to your perfect belt loop based off of where you're at right now. Okay. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, and you're not going to hear me preach to the choir about how everybody needs to budget and be restrictive. Let's talk about why practical budgeting is so important. First and foremost, it allows you to be intentional with your spending. When I first started, shortly after I started Mills Knows Bills, one of my first clients I was sitting down with was spending $900 a month on dining out, plus $400 a month on groceries. Lived by himself, got a W-2 income. He actually wasn't a business owner, so kind of was outside the box of who I work with now, but was spending $1,300 a month on food. $1,300. And I sat down and I said, hey, do you want to be spending $900 a month on dining out? Is there something else that maybe is another priority for you? And it turned out that he had been struggling with trying to buy a house for the longest time. Not because he couldn't afford the monthly payment, but because he didn't have the down payment. So over 5 months of working together, we improved his credit score, paid off debt, removed a mortgage that he no longer needed to be on. He was a co-signer and they were hurting his credit score, and set aside enough money for a down payment where he was able to purchase a home, and now he's getting rental income.
Hopefully got him some cooking classes.
We did meal plans. He didn't like cooking, which is why we kept the $400 a month for groceries, but we said, let's do meal plans instead. But it worked out. But see, he went from $1,300 a month down to $400 a month between meal plans and dining out a little bit still. Not because I said he needed to, but because he identified it himself. So again, practical budgeting allows you to be intentional with where your money is going. And it's not that you can't afford something, it's just that it's not a priority for you. Right? The other thing that practical budgeting
So if
allows
I'm
us,
understanding this
ahead.
right, I'm sorry to interject.
No, that's okay.
It's not like I'm doing this because Mills told me to. It's more of a like, I understand the concept of this, and this is something that aligns with my goals. Because I know a
Exactly.
lot of people will work with a financial advisor, and their financial advisor will be like, you are not allowed to do this, you are not allowed to do that, like, etc. So I like the concept that, they're involved in that decision and understand, rather than, oh man,
Right.
I'm going to get in trouble if I do this. And that kind of goes along with the rebellious teenager, which
It does.
I am quite in touch with. So I like that.
It does. And not to mention, now that my niche is variable income earners and business owners, we are in a really unique position where, we don't know the minimum that we can earn in income in 1 month, but there's also no maximum. So anytime I have a business owner come to me and say, hey, I really want to spend my money on this, how do I work this into my budget? We actually work backwards to say, well, if you just sign up one more client, you can do this. Right. So we break it down into tangible metrics, but all in all, the point of intentional spending is also a mindset shift. It's not just a monetary shift. It's saying to yourself, I can continue spending $1,300 a month on food, or I can take $900 of that and put it towards a house, which is really my priority. if you get paid $5,000 a month, you could spend all $5,000 on Starbucks. I don't care. No one cares, right? No one's stopping you. But the point is, you want to have a roof over your head. It's important to you. You want to have clothes on your back. You want to have other food in your belly besides their delicious frappuccinos, right? Like there are other things that are important to you. So as you're starting the budgeting process and you have that first inkling of, I can't afford this, it's not that you can't afford it. It's just that it's not worth it to you right now. You're making space for something else and you can rework that in the future. The other point of practical budgeting is that it allows you to set and reach your financial goals. So for the client that was struggling with buying a house, he didn't know how to take such a large lump sum of, I think it was around $24,000 is what he wanted, and work that into his budget. So we said, let's give yourself a timeline, right? And you could do the same thing. If you want to buy that house within 2 years, can you afford to set aside $1,000 a month? If yes, great. If you can afford to do a little bit more, you just shortened your timeline. If you can't, there's a couple things you get to do. You get to change the purchase price. You get to give yourself more time. You get to find more income. You get to balance it out however you want, right? But a lot of people don't reach their financial goals because they don't know how to set them and work backwards and put them in their budget. And then lastly, practical budgeting allows you to understand your finances. This is something that I see a lot of my clients struggle with. Most are petrified of looking at their bank statements, their credit card statements, all of it, because it's foreign to them. And they think that there's going to be something horrible on there. 9 times out of 10, it's worse in our own head. And being able to just see what you have in front of you and what you have to work with gives you the opportunity to do something about your situation. And having a budget allows you to say, well, if I just do this in my business, then it allows me to do that in my personal life. I'll be the first to say that budgeting itself is not glamorous. I've been budgeting for years. And although I'm an Excel nerd, the actual act of sitting down and saying, I'm going to do my budget, like, let's be honest, it's not glamorous, but the results definitely are. Budgeting has allowed me to go from negative 30,000 net worth to almost 400,000 net worth in a few short years. It's allowed me to retire at the age of 65 with $11 million without ever putting another dime in there. It's allowed me to become debt-free. It's allowed me to start my business. It's allowed me to provide jobs for other people. It's allowed me to take the trip of my dreams. It's allowed me to start a family, right? Budgeting is not glamorous, but the results are. And that's why it's important for you to understand why you want to do this in the first place. What are the goals you're trying to achieve? There are 2 different ways that you can approach your money management. Fixed income versus variable income. We briefly talked about this earlier. Managing a budget and managing finances is more difficult for somebody who makes variable or fluctuating income because they don't know what they can count on each month. Whereas a fixed income earner maybe gets $5K a month consistently, they know exactly where they can put that money. So for those of you on the call, we're going to work backwards. And we're actually going to establish an easier way to manage that variability. There's 3 main steps to setting a budget. Number 1, you have to identify your mandatories. Number 2, identify your extras. And then lastly, automate that bad boy as much as you possibly can. Work smarter, not harder, right? And I know Heather's like, yes, automations, processes, systems, let's go. So for the fixed income earner, they would normally start with their income, right? These are the 4 main components of your mandatories for budget: income, taxes, living expenses, and debt expenses. But as we just talked about, we don't know what we can count on in terms of income each month, and therefore we don't know what we owe in taxes as a result of that income, right? So we're going to stick a pin in income and taxes for just a couple slides. All right. First thing I want you all to do is make a list of all of your mandatory living and debt expenses. Living expenses include things like rent, food, clothing, gas, groceries, all of it. All of it. And don't just think of those monthly expenses, think of those annual ones as well. If you have a business license that you need to renew each year and it's $120, set aside $10 a month, right? Domains, website hosting, CRMs, all of it. And what I would encourage you to do for the first time you're doing it, just list it all in one sheet. But once you feel like you have everything written down, you can separate it and say, these are my personal expenses and these are my business expenses.
And everybody on the call will be able to get their business expenses from me in a
Correct.
nice, neat little broken down sheet. Oh, Daya's got her fur baby.
Oh my goodness.
We got a budget cat food in there.
I love it. For debt expenses, these are going to be your car loans, car leases, mortgage payment, credit cards. And specifically for credit cards, it's going to be the monthly payment that you make. If you're using a credit card, but then paying it off in full each month, you're not carrying a balance. That's not considered a debt expense. That's just where your living expenses are housed until you pay it off. Makes sense? So list out all of your living and debt expenses. Once you have that, you're going to calculate your total. And what this total is going to give you your base goal. Let's just say all of your expenses, all of your mandatories equate to $2,000 a month. Now you know that you need to generate $2,000 a month in your business, plus an additional 25 to 30% for taxes. And that is the bare minimum that you need to generate to cover all of your minimum expenses. Follow me so far? Okay. As we talked about earlier, though, there's more to life than just the bare minimums. Okay. Now you're going to make another list of all your extras, all of your savings goals, your spending, investing, extraneous expenses like Hulu, Netflix, those subscriptions that you signed up for but forgot about, right? All of those things on a monthly basis. If you want to have $6,000 set aside in savings within a year, that's $500 a month. Put it in there. Again, our income is not capped. So list it all out. Don't be afraid of it. And then calculate the total, including the mandatories. And let's say that that's $5,000 a month. Include that 25 to 30%. That is now your stretch goal. That's what you truly want to be generating in your business each and every month. And once you have this dollar amount, you get to do something that's really cool. You don't just say, I need to generate 5K. You say, how many clients do I need to close? Is it 1, 2, 10? What's your closing rate? So how many conversations do you need to have? See, now you get to start being strategic in how you spend your time. Most of the issues that my clients deal with financially stem from lack of financial organization and then not charging enough. They don't value themselves. And that's really hard, especially if you're in a service-based industry. But let's take my business model, for example. If I work with a client one-on-one, that's a much better price point for me than somebody who signs up for my subscription-based content. So I can either close one of these a month or 1,000 of these a month, right? So where am I going to spend my time? I'm going to spend it over here. You get to be strategic with your networking, your conversations, who you look for, and how you are earning your money so that way you can live the life that you want. Once you find a good flow and a good rhythm, you can start automating your budget as much as possible. Direct deposit is really meant for those that make a fixed income. But if you happen to pay yourself, if you're an S Corp, or if you just pay yourself a paycheck consistently, you can take a portion of that paycheck and have it split into multiple bank accounts before it even hits your checking account. So if you want to set aside $50 a week into your savings, have it come directly out of your paycheck. If you don't get a paycheck, do the same thing, but with automatic account transfers. Set it up. Don't even think about it. I don't even know how much my husband and I save anymore because I set it up a long time ago and I just forget about it. And then if anything changes in our income, then I go in and I update it. But it's going. And when I randomly check into the bank accounts, say, oh, we have this amount in here. Okay. Didn't know. I check in on it once every 3 weeks now, 4 weeks. Set it and forget it. And then lastly, I'm sure some of you have heard about cash envelopes. I am a take it with a grain of salt type person with cash envelopes, and I'll tell you why. If you have all of your money sitting in cash, that's a huge liability if you lose those envelopes or if they get stolen. Also, it's not doing anything for you in terms of interest. It's just sitting in cash. So if you're saving for something and you're saving for it in cash and inflation is about 9% like it is this year, you're losing 9% of your purchasing power. Cash envelopes are really great for what I call your financial kryptonites. So your weakness. If dining out is your biggest spending weakness and you only want to spend $200 a month on dining out, take $200 in cash, put it in that envelope, and anytime you dine out, use the cash from that envelope. That way you have a visual, kind of think of it as training wheels to make sure that you're not overspending in that category so you can stick to your other goals. Once you feel like you can take those training wheels off and no longer use the cash envelope, go for it. That's fine.
I know for me and the way I do it, cash is harder for me to track in my spreadsheets and my balance sheets. So I'm like, I don't usually use cash. I have cash just in case, but like I put everything through my bank account and link it. And then I have all my categories already there.
Exactly.
Whereas like if I use cash, I have to put it into a spreadsheet and import it into my statements. So it's a little more difficult. So when I'm going to spend cash, I think twice about it because I'm like, oh man, this is going to take me 10 minutes to log.
It's true. And that's another layer to keep you at bay. Right. But you see, there's so many different ways that you can automate. If most of you have QuickBooks checking actually has linked with Green Dot Bank, or QuickBooks or Intuit has linked with Green Dot Bank to provide what's called a QuickBooks checking account. You can open it directly through your login, and they give you 1% on all the money that's in that account. And you can actually open up virtual envelopes within that one account. So if you wanted to have a taxes envelope or an annual expenses or whatever it may be, you can actually save for it within that account directly without managing multiple accounts. It's just one with different buckets. On the personal side, I really like Ally Financial. They have an online savings account, and I think they just increased their rate. It was 0.5%, and then I saw them go to 0.9, and I want to say they're now 1.25%. Don't quote me on the 1.25, but it's greater than what typical financial institutions provide. Most of them give you 0.01%. And Ally Financial operates very similar, where you have one savings account, one core account, but then they call them buckets. And you can have up to 10 different buckets in Ally Financial. So you can have an emergency fund, a house down payment, a vacations, clothing, whatever. So it gives you the opportunity to put money aside for those random or one-off expenses that come up throughout the year, but you're still wanting to put that money somewhere so you don't spend it elsewhere. So my question for you is what if you could achieve your version of financial freedom within 90 days? What would life look like to you? If you sat down and you dedicated yourself to implementing a new plan You now have new habits. How would your life look different 1 year from now? 90 days may sound like a lot, may sound like nothing. The point is consistently doing something for 90 days allows you to drastically change your life. If you want to download my free budget setting tool, you absolutely can. You can get it from my website, millsknowsbills.com/resources, and it lists out everything that we talked about today in an Excel format. You can fill it in. It will automatically calculate some totals for you. If you have questions while filling it out, I'm more than happy to reach out to me. Again, I said I'd give my cell phone number at the end. I want you to use it. I want you to get that clarity. If anybody wants to talk more with me about how I partner with my clients or how I help them, anybody watching this live or recorded, I'm happy to provide you 15% off just because Heather set this up and I know she only works with amazing people and I only want to work with amazing people. But the point is,
I also love coupons.
I love coupons. Coupons are the best. But the point is, I'm not trying to sell you on anything. I truly love helping people. And if this helps you get to your goals, let's go for it. Okay. You can reach me at mills@millsknowsbills.com. You can follow me on Instagram. That's where I put all my cooking and my stories and my baby bump dates, as well as financial tips. I also have a YouTube channel where I post weekly videos. And then LinkedIn, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Lastly, my cell phone, and I don't have it on the slide because I normally don't give it out, is 786-512-1596. And I'll go ahead and put that in the chat for you. Reach out to me. Let me know if you have questions, but I guess I can open it up now. And Heather, if either y'all have something you want to chat about, we're happy to do so. Otherwise, we can bounce.
I'm trying to unmute. My mouse is like flying around between my screens. I don't even know.
It happens.
No, thank you so much for doing this for us. And I know that
Sure.
Jay was the only one who could actually make it live.
That's
and we're
okay.
happy to have her, but we're going to be sending out the recording to everybody. So I hope that a lot of people take advantage of your program and decide to give you a call and, you know, fill out your little thing for lack of a better word, right? But yeah, I think what you do is extremely beneficial, not only for people's personal lives, but also for people's businesses, which is why, you know, I was right on board with doing this, because I tell everybody all the time when I'm talking about you that you're kind of like the personal side of me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we have a very similar approach, except you do personal and I focus on business. So, I mean, any clients that we have together will be in a really, really good situation as far as me getting you the information that you need. So I'm very stoked about it. Like, I'm very happy.
I love it.
Dan, did you have any questions or anything?
No, but it was great. Actually, it's good to get that kick in the pants to say, oh, you do that, and I need to do that, and actually put pen to paper and numbers into spreadsheets and whatnot. And yes, I'm one of Heather's clients. She's always pushing me on the business side, and so definitely getting my what for on the personal side has to be done.
That's okay. It doesn't have to be done. You get to do it.
I get to do it. You're
going to do it so well. I love it.
Yeah. And I mean, any step in the right direction is good.
And
if any of you are as old as me and know the 80s movie, What About Bob? Baby steps.
Baby steps. Well, if anybody has questions, feel free to send me a text, email, does not matter, but would love to be of support. And Heather, I'll go ahead and send this recording over to you today.
Awesome. And I really appreciate it. And if you need anything, give me a shout.
Will do. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.
Bye, guys.
Bye.